One, two, and two. Desmond Moses, Lauren Moses, Moses Squared.
Welcome back to Moses Squared Podcast, everyone. I am, of course, Lauren Brielle with my brother and co-host, Dezman and Moses, and we have a really good episode prepared for you guys today. But I first just want to say congratulations to all of those graduating, whether that's from high school, college, etc. Congratulations and God bless moving forward. So let's just get right into episode 4, the Golden Rule.
Welcome, everybody, back to this week's episode of Moses Squared, the podcast. And we're talking about teacher appreciation to start off this week. One thing that I learned when I was in elementary school at Martin Luther King Elementary in Willingboro, New Jersey, was we had a golden rule. And that was to treat others how you wanted to be treated. Lauren, thinking back throughout your childhood, elementary, middle school, high school, who was a teacher that really stood out to you and that made a difference for you?
Thankfully, I went to really good schools growing up as a kid. I always had really good teachers who were focused and invested on the individuality of each student's teaching or learning process. And so that was really important, and it always stuck out to me from, each teacher that I went to or met every time I changed schools or, changed a grade. But just talking about Teacher Appreciation Week,
Right.
There's one teacher that just jumps out to me, and that's Miss Addison from Rancocas Valley Regional High School. She doesn't work there anymore. But she was my homeroom teacher, actually. And so she also taught math. She taught like the college level math at RV, but
Right.
I never took one of her classes because, my route just didn't entail that. So anyway, she was just a great teacher, a great human. She was one of those teachers who was very transparent, kept it 100 all the time. Anyone that knows Miss Addison knows that, she's just going to keep it real. And that's what everyone liked about her because she was just so authentic. She was a teacher that knew when it was time to have fun and knew when it was time to be serious and learn and pay attention. And she stuck with that, like when it was time to have fun, like you knew. And when it was time to be serious, you also knew. And I think a lot of people gravitated towards her because of that, because they knew that she was about her business. She knows, her role. She knows her value to the school, to the students, to her, to her colleagues. And that's what I respect so much about her. Her family is amazing. And I've just gotten to, grow in my relationship with them. But her daughter also played. She's 2 years younger than me. She played on the basketball team at RV as well. So that also helped.
Right.
So there were other times where I would be around her and it wasn't just in our homeroom classroom, but the homeroom classroom was where we really got to grow as a family with one another as students and as a group with Miss Addison as well. And that was our 20 minutes before school started every single day from freshman year to senior year. And there was a point in there where we didn't know if we were going to have Miss Addison our senior year, but she fought for us. And that's really another aspect that I love about her is that she's willing. She's willing to put herself out there and she's willing to use her voice, use her stance as a teacher at the school and fight for her students. If they were in the right, she was always willing to and put forth some effort to try to help them out. And, her family, going back to her family, is just amazing. They've traveled to games. They've supported me in my college career. They support me now. They reach out to me on social media all the time. They came to 2 games, Rutgers, when we played Rutgers and Hofstra. They came to my senior game in Charlottesville. It's just, great family values, and it shows through her work. It shows through everything that they have going on in their lives, and so it's really special. She's very special to me, and she knows I appreciate her. She still comes over to my mom's house every now and then when I'm back home, so she knows that I really respect and appreciate her, and I'm so thankful for the work that she did in my life, and I hope to be twice the mom or twice that mentor that she was for me.
That's awesome. We all have those teachers, and I can think definitely back to high school. I had a coach who was a coach and my homeroom teacher as well, Coach Tezik, and he was just one of those guys who kept me on task. High school comes with a lot of different challenges depending on where you go to high school at, but he was the guy that really kept me on track, made sure I stayed on top of my grades, made sure I stayed on top of my training because I was a young athlete, and it's easy to stray and get caught up in different things, but you have to remain focused, and you need these people who can help you see the bigger picture day in and day out.
Definitely. And that's what sets teachers apart from others, when they're willing to go above and beyond for their students, when they're willing to like put something out there, when they're just invested and intentional about, just different things they say, different things that they do, the way that they act in front of their students. Like all of those things aren't, just willy-nilly. Like these things are planned, and these things are intentional. And that's what I love so much about teachers, really good teachers. And that's what sets them apart from one another. But switching gears a little bit and just flipping over to the athletic side, because coaches as well are just just as important as teachers, and the schools are. They have played huge roles in our lives. And so who is that teacher or that coach, or coaches that have really helped you improve as a person, as a man, as a athlete? Who would you say really had that impact on your life and helped you get to that next level?
Yeah. It's tough, to just name two, but two really stand out as far as coaching and teaching in that realm, because this past week was Teacher Appreciation Week. So we want to show some appreciation to those teachers and coaches who have helped us along the way. And for me, two coaches that stand out is one, my college coach at Tulane, Coach John Hendricks. And I say him because he was just a man of faith. He always kept me on track as a man, helped me accountable, not only as an athlete, as a leader, but, he told me one thing as a leader that really stood out for me, and it was leaders must be able to be led. And he said this to me in reference to one day, we used to have offense and defensive battles at practice, and we had gotten to it, the offense and the defense, and I was kind of going back and forth with my head coach. He was like, don't ever do that again. He was like, never overstep your boundary, especially with the leader. You have to show your teammates that you can be led in order for you to be able to lead them. And I thought that was crucial. Just even dumbing it down for me to make it make sense, and I really took heed to that day. And it's really been one of the things that helped me throughout my career. So with that being said, who is a coach that really stood out for you in your career, that made a difference, that really helped you get to the next level of your game?
Like you said, it's so hard to pin one or two. I mean, I would have to say the entire Philly Triple Threat organization, because they were my core family before like basketball really got real for me, and it became something that I knew I wanted to do at the next level. So I began playing for Triple Threat when I was 12, and I just didn't have like that toughness factor. And I was playing with the Bells, with Philadelphia Bells, but I just didn't have that toughness factor. I had great basketball IQ. I knew the game, but I just wasn't really executing at the level that these girls were. So I remember my first practice, I went into that gym with Daddy. We were in the middle of Philly somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
Somewhere. And for the first 10 minutes, I sat in the bathroom, and Daddy came in there and was like, you gonna come out here? You okay? But no, that was a huge turning point for me and all my coaches, from Coach Eric to Coach John, Coach Dave Bass, Coach Randy. They all coached me at some point throughout that transition from 12 years old to 16 years old.
Okay.
So they had huge impressions on the way I viewed the game and how I view it now, and how I played the game, because I know that people may be at the same level as you, but it's about the heart, it's about the intention that you play with. That is a huge difference.
Well, tell me this, and I think it's funny that you said, you had to develop this toughness. Yeah. And I always talk about this dog, and not only mental toughness, but physical toughness. Me and Daddy used to always joke, because instinctually I always had it in me, and I was always a fighter and scrappy, and I'm like, Lauren, you gotta, I used to be at your games, and I'm yelling don't let her put, I was, that was my style. I wasn't the most skilled, I wasn't the, most athletic, so that was kind of my style, and you were always, such a sweet kid, so you just naturally wanted to, I remember girls would elbow you and stuff, I'm like, you gotta, fight fire with fire, but that's the way I play
Yeah.
the game. And, I think it's cool that you got a chance to develop that in Philly and what we call a tri-state on the East Coast, New York, New Jersey, and Philadelphia, kind of in that area. We play a lot of AAU basketball together, and teams unite that way. So I got a chance to play in some of them Philadelphia gyms as well with some really good players.
Definitely.
And it's cool how you can see so much talent come together in such a little dark place with two rims, and to see the guys and the athletes that come out of these places and see the places that they end up going.
Yeah, no, I will never forget the bathroom that I sat in for the first 10 minutes. Like, literally did not have doors in the bathrooms and the
I'm
stalls.
almost positive I practice in that gym as well.
Oh, definitely. So it's the little things like that. Obviously, like coming from where we grew up and being exposed to that at that age was really crucial. I think for me to just be more open-minded as well, be more accepting of things that are different. Doesn't mean they're right or wrong, just means they're different. So that was really cool. But going back to the whole coaching and the teaching aspect of it, I think like the biggest thing that they taught me is that nothing's going to come easy.
Right.
Nothing throughout my triple threat experience was easy. Everything that I wanted and things that I earned, I truly earned. And I think it goes for everyone on our team. And it's really top down. The Coach Eric, person who created this foundation, who created this organization, created this family, he preaches that at the end of the day, we are a family. You go at it in practice. You go at it with the younger boys, with the younger teams that you guys will play in practice or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're a family. We fight hard. We work hard, and no one can take anything from us. Right. And so that's what I went into college with, and I thank God for it.
Yeah, that's essential. And those same things are the things I think that made my favorite coaches. One, John Hendricks, who I was saying, really taught me to play harder. Play harder all the way into my senior year until game 8. Every game I used to ask him, hey, coach, did I play at that level? Because I told him I wanted to be a pro. He said, if you want to be a pro, I'm going to challenge you like a pro, because he had coached guys that went on and became pros. So I knew that he knew what it took. And he challenged me. And it took until game 8. And it was a game where I only had like 1 sack. I had 2-3 sack games prior, and he's like, that wasn't the level. You got to play harder. You got to run to the ball harder. You got to press your body. You got to take yourself to another level until the endorphins kick in, or you're just not going to be. You got to go. And I'm just like, Coach, I'm killing these guys. I'm killing them. He's like, I know, but you asked me. You said you wanted to go to that level, so this is what it's going to take. And like I said, it wasn't until game 8. I think I had 1 sack. He was like, now that's it. I think I had about 13 tackles, though, because I was playing with such a high level of energy that every play you watched, you could see that I stood out. And when I watched that film, I understood, and those are the things that makes the coaches the great ones. Even, my second coach, who I didn't mention, was Kevin Green. He was my coach my rookie year in Green Bay.
Yeah, okay.
Former player, 17-year vet, and being a Hall of Famer. He understood what it took to push a player, the dynamic. He never called you out your name, never disrespected you, but he wanted the best, and he was going to press you every single day. I remember there was a day where we had an awful day. I mean, we came out, we played lackluster. And he came into the room, slammed the door, his veins are literally coming out his neck. And I'm like, oh, my God, KG's about to rip us. He's going to rip us. He's going to cuss us today. He came in, he had tears in his eyes. He's like, we're better than that. That was the first thing out of his mouth. And like literally, I think I almost had tears running down my face because I was so disarmed, by his we're better than that. I coach you better than that. You're better players than that. We will never have another day like that. And he went through and gave us a speech, and I think it really touched guys because as well as I know, a lot of times in a situation like that, a coach is going to point to, you guys are you. It was we, and that was the thing that separated him for us. We never had another day like that. And a lot of that was because we never wanted to disappoint him. We know the amount of energy he put into it and put into us, and that made him a special coach for me.
Yeah. And just before we move on to the next topic, after you talking about that, I did have a coach who was like that. It was never too rah-rah, but she always stayed like, she was never too high and never too low.
Right.
But when she was disappointed, you knew. And that was Coach Fred in college, my position coach. Coach Fred was just so passionate about the game. She
Absolutely.
played in WNBA. She played overseas. Her career is amazing. It's just when you know someone loves the game and they love
Yeah.
you, and you go out
Absolutely.
there and you do something that, they know that you could do better, and you
Yep.
see that on their face.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, let
Yeah.
me let
The
me do
love.
something about this.
That's the love of the game. When you know they love
Yeah.
you, and it's harder. It's harder to let them down. So you just generally tend to play at a higher level. And for the coaches listening out there, the love is is the key to it. That's how you really maximize your players' potential when they know that you care. And it's not just
Yeah.
about the X's and the O's.
And then on the flip side, I had a coach in AU,
Yeah.
Coach John, who loved us to death.
Yeah.
But he was going to kick us out practice. He was going to make us run Indian drills around the court. If we fall on a lake, because every time we had layups, we had the pad.
Yeah.
And if you get hit by that pad and you fall, you're running for
Tough love.
practice. And that's love, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, he knew what we needed to do in order to play at the Division I level. And out of everyone on my AAU team, I believe that, I want to say that 90% of us played Division I.
Wow. That's a high rate.
So, yeah.
That's a
I mean,
really high
there
rate.
were about 12 people on our team. One of the girls played another sport, but she still played Division I. And I think maybe two people played Division II.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's just goes to show the mentality that he was teaching, making you guys elite athletes, the mindset. All of those things go into it. But to transition into something that, we talked about, especially this week with student appreciation, and just the golden rule and treating others how you want to be treated. There was an incident this past week in our country, out in Colorado. There was a school shooting, and it appeared to involve a transgender student who seems to have been bullied. Came and shot some children. One that passed away. My heart goes out to that family. But what do you think about schools, students, and how the treatment of each other, of themselves, of one another affects things like this?
I think it all starts with just taking a step back and just being more kinder to yourself.
Yeah.
I feel like at that age and in high school, I know I didn't, we all talk about self-care
Yeah.
nowadays, but, that's when it really matters, because there's so many things that are going against you. You're trying to figure out who you are. You're trying to figure out what you want to do next, and who you're going to be friends with this day, and who's talking about you the next day. It's just a lot of catty and petty drama.
Right.
So I would say, one, take care of yourself and just understand and try to figure out who you are and who you want to be before you kind of worry about anything else. But then just treating others the way you want to be treated. We were all taught that at such a young age, and I just really wish people would just do that. It's just so simple. Just be kinder.
Yeah.
And I say that in my prayer. When I pray, I'm just saying, Lord, allow everyone to be a little bit kinder today.
Yeah.
Kinder to
Truly.
themselves, kinder to the people around them, kinder to their families. Despite whatever that's going on in your personal life, I just feel like if you smile, you never know, that could save a person's life.
Yeah.
So just things like that. And I think media coverage, because we talk about it here in journalism school, media
Yeah.
coverage for mass shootings and school shootings, it can get a little iffy just because of, people are afraid of glorifying killers.
Right.
And not showing enough of the victim's life and celebrating the victim's life. And I think in this situation, we've seen a lot of celebration of this kid's life because he attempted to try to help other students prevent being shot. So it's a tough situation. It's really hard to talk about as well.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts about it and the whole idea of bullying in general? I think it's something that's not talked about enough.
Yeah. And I think it starts at home. I think a lot of the times as parents, we, overlook, and we had, great parents, but parents generally overlook the behavior and the treatment of others. And, I'll see a lot of times parents will say, oh, well, that's just kids being kids, they're just being, they're picking on, that's just how they play. And it's like, that's just, how girls are. That's just how boys are. But we need to stop excusing these, behaviors and these acts because, a lot of people are affected by this. And for me, it's like, you think back to high school and you think about that environment. High school is your world. It's high school and home and more time spent in high school, to be honest. So, if your kid is picking on someone else's kid on a daily basis and making their life a living hell, that's real life for that kid. So you have to be subconscious. You got to be conscious of that and really just instill that into your kid, the golden rule. Treat others how you want to be treated. And I was pretty popular in high school, and that was cool for me because I got a chance to interact with other kids outside of my realm.
In different friend groups. That's my favorite part of being an athlete, I think, is that you always have that close niche of friends that you see every single day because you're playing with them.
Right.
But then you also have those people that you're friends with in classes and that you can relate
Yes.
to something differently outside of basketball and just having that relief. Yeah.
Yeah. Even in college. I mean, it was cool to interact with those other groups, and they were always like, man, you're so cool down there. I'm like, man, what else would I be? You know what I'm saying? It's like, so are you, I guess, so it's, people need to take the initiative, and the leaders, even amongst the students and the student athletes, they need to take the initiative, step in when they see somebody being bullied, step in when they see somebody being mistreated, because you do have the platform, even in that, high school, middle school realm, you have that platform to really defend somebody who could be defenseless.
And that's a challenge. And I would challenge, students, friends, and I would even challenge teachers because I think we sometimes get used to a routine.
Yeah.
So, you go to school, you go to the same classes every day, you see the same people, and same things are kind of happening. And it might be the smallest thing that you kind of raise your eyebrows about, but it's nothing too much for you to get involved with. And I think in a situation sort of happened my senior year where I noticed something and I pointed it out to a school counselor and it was able to be solved.
Right.
And so just like something small like that, you never know what people are going through. And if you just have like any ounce of, anxiety or, a bad feeling about something, speak up.
Yep. You never know.
Because
like you said,
you never know.
You never know what someone's going through. Even that bully, you don't know what they're going through at home. You don't know how their parents treat them or how, their living situation or how many meals they're. Even that person that's being bullied, their dress is weird. You don't know why they're dressing that way. You don't know why, they may not have the newest gear. So you have to be very careful and be inclusive, as much as you can, because everybody has something that they're dealing with. So even for young kids, don't be quick to judge, treat others how you would like to be treated. And I challenge all of my leaders across every platform to do that. Speaking of challenging, the next thing I want to speak about is a 3-year challenge. And this was something that's kind of cool. And I'm going to challenge you and ask you what your goal is for a 3-year goal or challenge, because I think it's essential to have a plan. And we talked about planning somewhat, but you start with a goal and then you make a plan. You have sub goals to help you get to this goal, but it starts with the main goal. And 3 years is a long enough time to where you can formulate a plan, and it's not too far out to where you kind of lose steam.
Yeah.
But it's farther enough out to where you can take some time and, take your falls, because it's going to be some ups, some downs. It's going to take some things, some adversity to get to your goals, but that's the beauty of it. You got to be able to challenge yourself and stay disciplined to it. So give me one of your goals 3 years from now, something you'd like to do or accomplish or a space you like to be in.
And for my career, just because that's what I've been thinking about as of recently, in 3 years, I want to be a basketball commentator for men and women's basketball in NCAA.
Okay.
I wanted it to be with the ACC just because I feel like that's my home league, that's my home conference. The players, the teams, the coaches, the programs in the ACC are just unmatched, and I think that in itself has a story to tell, and I'd really like to be able to be a part of that. And as part of that, I'd like to tell more feature stories about those individual schools, because I don't feel like enough of that's being done on a visual level.
Right.
I think individual schools do a good job of telling their individual stories. But how can we bring that together? I think that would be a cool idea. So in 3 years, I would hope to begin just scratching the surface of that part, but definitely being on camera and being a commentator in the NCAA and doing that as a career is my goal in 3 years. Yeah. And I've always struggled with making long-term goals. And I think like we've had a conversation about this just because I'm someone who thinks about what can I do right now to change something or to do something like next week, next month.
Right.
So it's really hard for me to make long-term goals because my mind doesn't really think. My mind is constantly going and constantly thinking like, how can I do this better? How can I do something else? Or, oh, that's a good idea. Maybe I can try to do that or something like that, you know?
Right.
But yeah, what about you? 3 years from now? What are some goals or something that you just want to, that been eating at you, something that you want to accomplish?
Yeah, for me, I think it's, one thing you've inspired me to do is to, continue my education as a father. That's one thing that's super important to me because I know I'll be preaching this to Naomi is, you got to go to school.
Shout out to my niecey Pooh.
Yes. I'll be preaching this to her. You got to go. You got to get the grades. You have to exceed the importance. You have to be consistent. You have to be there every day. You have to be present. And I'll be telling her, no, you can't, it's not an option just to get regular grades and not pursue. You have to strive. So in saying that, I have to do that as well. I have to set an example. And part of that is, completing and finishing school. So that's, my 3-year goal is to complete that as well as start, if not complete, my master's in broadcasting and communication. I think long term, I'd love to have we're talking 10-year plan now, but I'd love to have a program on SportsCenter, ESPN, to where me and you get to go on and really have these same type of discussions. And spread this love and spread all these different gems that we've gotten the opportunity and been blessed to have given to us. So for me, that's the goal. There's some sub goals in there that I have to do, and that's part of a plan. And believe it or not, even you as an athlete, you had a 15-year plan, to be a college athlete, and you succeeded, a Division I athlete. And even for myself, making it to a pro, a lot of people say, oh, you made it. But it's like the reality is that was a 20-year plan that you had to go sub-goal by sub-goal by sub-goal, checking it off, high school, college, and doing all these things and checking them off to get where you want to go. And that's how you succeed. That's the key to success, is having these goals, checking them off, staying consistent, and getting it done. We appreciate you guys tuning in to Moses Squared Podcast. Stay updated on the podcast. Follow me at Twitter and Instagram at Dezman M, DezManM.
And you can follow me on both Instagram and Twitter. On Instagram, I can be found at Lauren.Brielle with 2 E's at the end. And on Twitter, Lauren_Brielle with 2 E's at the end. Also, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel titled Moses Squared Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode. And if you have any recommendations or questions you may want answered, be sure to tweet both me and Dez on Twitter, finishing it off with #MosesSquared. God bless and see you next week.
I'm just trying to get it, yeah. I be all about my business, yeah. We don't talk about it, we just do it. We ride around, we blow it.